right, good evening, everybody again. Thank you for being here with us in the Mentoring Matters talk for August 27. And I will run through some of the things that we will cover in the first 5 minutes of this session. We'll also give you a little bit of introduction about the Mentoring Club. But first, if you are active on social media, these are our social media handles. Please go ahead and follow us, like us. And if you want to tweet or post anything on Facebook during the event, please feel free to do so. And this is our program for tonight. We're doing now the introduction. I'll do a little bit of intro about the Mentoring Club for those people that don't know about the Mentoring Club. I also shared a link in the meeting invite that you could view an introduction video from there. Maybe you have seen that. If you did not see that, please, after the meeting, go ahead and check out our videos in YouTube. And after that, we want to get right into the main talk for tonight, which is from one of our mentors, Bryan. And he will talk about his experiences of over 30 years and how we could create value in all areas of our lives. And then after, that's an hour. And then for about 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes, we will do Q&A. And then I will start some event announcements in there. And at around 8 o'clock, we will do virtual networking and for about 20 minutes. And after the virtual networking, we will have the feedback from those sessions. And we'll have a takeaway segment and then wrap up the session. So I hope you will enjoy tonight's session. And so I want to just bring this up to the top. Normally, I say thank you to people helping out in the Mentoring Club at the end. And I just realized that by that time, people may have left or, you know, people with other commitments. But I really want to recognize the village that makes this event and most of the activities in the Mentoring Club possible. So I will not call out all the names, but these are the people that actually allow us to make these events and other activities in the Mentoring Club possible. So thank you very much. A number of you are here in tonight's session. And so what are we doing in the Mentoring Club? So those are, I just showed you, those are the supporters. And so who are we supporting? These are the people that we serve. These are some of the mentees that we have in the Mentoring Club. And just to get to know more about who we are, the Mentoring Club, as you probably know by now, is a nonprofit organization. I set it up as my give back, and the mission that we have is to provide a mentoring community for young, aspiring, and seasoned leaders. So we want to be able to help working people find mentors who can help guide them to develop their skills or themselves in order to achieve their goals, whether it's career goals or life goals. And, you know, planning long-term, my vision is that, or my dream and the club's dream is that as the mentees become leaders themselves, that they will also become mentors to others. And for those who are first-timers in the session, I'd like to just give you a flavor of the community that we have currently in the Mentoring Club. So when we talk about development areas, these are the skills where the mentees have expressed that they need support from us. And so if you see any of the skills that you currently are assessing for yourself as skills that you need help on, then please do approach me. And I'd be happy to figure out, you know, how I could help you in terms of determining your goals and also matching you with one or more of our mentors. Sorry. And then as far as industry coverage is concerned, these are the industries that our mentors and mentees either have belonged to, are currently working in, or would like to eventually be involved in. As far as geographic distribution is concerned, we are heavy in California. We do have presence in other states, mentors and mentees. And as far as global distribution is concerned, so we have, again, the majority in the US, but I've had connections in other countries that have been helping us. And we also have mentees in some of the countries like the Philippines, Taiwan, China, and Denmark. And then the rest of the countries represented here are where we have mentors. Now, going into our main session for tonight. So Bryan will talk about how to create value in all aspects of your life. And just to give you an idea, I will let Bryan introduce himself, but just to give you an idea how I met Bryan or how he became a mentor. I met first his fiance, now wife, Layla. We met at the Philippine Consulate event, and then I told her I was still working in tech full time, and I told her that this is my give back, and she immediately said, "Oh, you should meet my fiance." Okay, sure, I'll meet your fiance. And so after a couple of weeks, I think we had a session in Pleasanton, right? So I drove to where Bryan is in Pleasanton, and we had a snack, coffee. And as soon as I told him what I'm trying to do with the mentoring club, he just immediately said, sign me up. And that's been like maybe over a year and a half, close to 2 years now, Bryan. So I'll give you the floor.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Well, I want to thank Liesel and the Mentoring Club for having me tonight. It's an honor to be with you all. So that we're not complete strangers, I'll share a little bit about my past. I've spent over 30 years leading organizations here in the Bay Area and working with other leaders. I've had the privilege of traveling the country as a consultant, working with over 30 businesses in 18 different industries. I've written 3 books. The first one was How to Create Value First and Other Lessons that I've learned while leading organizations. I've written a book called Understanding What Needs to Be Understood, which talks about the business model for the 21st century, that talks about we all need to have multiple streams of revenue, including residual income, and why everyone should have a home-based business. And my most recent one is a relationship journal, which helps individuals to increase one specific relationship by journaling every day on something they're grateful for about that relationship. And then after a year's time, they're able to give that book as a gift to the person that they've been journaling about for a lifetime treasure. As a results coach, I'm also a certified master life coach. I'm currently working as an executive director of a foundation in Solano County, serving clients in Vallejo, Vacaville, and Fairfield. And everything that I've done in my career has one common thread through it, which is to be of service to others. I believe that is our purpose in life. And hopefully, spending our time together this evening, I'll be able to provide some service to you as well. And I don't know exactly where each one of you are at in your life right now. Some of you may be secure, some of you may be uncertain, some of you may just be starting out in your career, some of you may have a lot of years of experience. But I believe that whatever information I'm going to share tonight could be beneficial to all of you. And I'm excited about having this hour to be able to share some ideas with you. I believe that there's nothing more powerful than an idea whose time has come. And if you think about it, everything started off as an idea. Every business, every building, every car, even the foods that we eat started off as an idea. Hey, that looks good to eat. And nobody has all the ideas. We all have ideas. And that's why networking is so important. I believe that in the next 5 years, the only thing that's going to change your life are the books that you read and the people that you meet. And that's going to be from the ideas that you get from both. And so with that, what I'd like to do is pull up this screen share. And back that up. All right. So as you can see, I'm going to go through a lot this evening in a shorter period of time. If you have any questions as we go, if you'll just jot down the questions that you have, I'll make sure that we have plenty of time during question and answer to answer them. In the event that we do run out of time, or you have a question that you'd rather talk to me about personally, at the end I'll give you my contact information, and you're welcome to contact me directly, and I'll answer any questions and help you in any way I can. And at the end of the presentation, I'll also give you my contact information, so anybody that wants to stay in touch with me, I'll be happy to do that as well. So as we go through these slides, if anybody wants a copy of the slides, you can just request that for me by email, and I'll be happy to send a set of the slides to you as well. Before we get started, the one thing I do want to share with you is that I believe everyone on this call tonight is either a leader or you're aspiring to be a leader. And for that reason, I'm going to talk to you as leaders, which means that I may not tell you everything that you want to hear, but I'll tell you what I believe you should hear. My goal here tonight isn't to make you feel warm and fuzzy, but to inspire you and give you an idea or three that can help you to realize that you can achieve big dreams. So with that said, the thing I'm promising to give you tonight is how to go from ordinary to extraordinary results, the number one thing for you to work on to improve all areas of your life, a process to help you create the life that you desire, your best investment, and 3 secrets to maximize your success. So let's get started here. If you think about any business in any industry, and you take 10 of those businesses in the industry, one's going to be ranked number 1 and one will be ranked number 10. If you go into any office that has sales representatives, one will be ranked number 1 and one will be ranked number 10. And you have to ask yourself, what is the difference in the one that's ranked at the top and the one that's ranked at the bottom? Before we get into that, I want to share with you what it's not. There will be people with less education, come from more dysfunctional families, no fewer people that will still be ranked higher, earning 2 times, 5 times, and 10 times as much as the person that's more educated and comes from a more well-to-do family. So what is the difference? What I'd like to do now is go through an exercise with you that you'll be able to help me decide that. So what I'd like you to do is think for a moment about the most successful person you know or know of and words that describe that individual. And after you've come up with some words that describe the most successful person you know or know of, I want you to unmute yourself and share those words with me, and I'll write them down, and we'll complete this exercise. So go ahead and unmute yourself if you have the word that describes the most successful person you know or know of, and I'll jot them down.
I was just gonna say, so this is Bana. The word I think of is innovator. The person I know has created multiple businesses and then sold them, high-tech businesses. So he has, oh, I'm sorry, not innovative. I'm sorry. The thing that came to me is vision.
Vision. Okay, great.
He has big vision.
Awesome. Those are both good words. Next.
Daniel here. I'm sure you know me, Brian.
Hey, Daniel.
So I came up with 3 words. They're passionate, hardworking, and perseverance.
Great. Passionate, hardworking, perseverance.
Sanjeev here. Driven and relentless.
Driven and relentless?
Relentless. Yes.
Relentless, okay.
John here, manages his own emotions.
Okay, manage emotions.
Well, manage self-emotions, not other.
Okay.
His own.
Warren Buffett. I don't invest in businesses. I invest in people.
Got any more words here that can describe the most successful person you know or know of?
Focused.
Focus, good.
Integrity.
Integrity, good.
Brian, there's some other words in the chat as well.
Okay, let me check those out. Thank you. Okay, we have authentic, impactful, resilience. All right, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, that's 13 words. That's good. Give yourself a hand. Okay, so let me go back to this. So in any business, there's what I call a work triangle. And this is across all industries. And in any work triangle, in any business, in any industry, there's going to be skills and tactics. There's going to be product knowledge. And there's going to be attitude. So what I want to do now is go through these words that you guys gave me to describe the most successful person you know or know of, and you tell me which category you think they go into. So if we're using, the first word is innovator, would innovator be a skill, an attitude, or knowledge? Anybody?
Attitude.
Attitude, okay. How about vision? Attitudes.
I think, attitude, but also knowledge.
Okay. We'll put it down for both. Passionate.
Attitude.
That's all attitude.
How about hard work?
Attitude.
Perseverance.
Attitude.
Driven.
Attitude.
Sensing a pattern here.
Relenting. Relenting.
Unrelenting or relentless.
You're relentless. I think that meant, yeah, that's attitude.
Attitude.
Managing self-emotions.
Yep, attitude.
Pick it out. It's also a skill. We'll put it down for both. Focused. Focused.
Skill.
Skill. Integrity.
Attitude.
Attitude.
Authentic.
That's an attitude.
Impact.
Oh, I think skills. Actually, I'm going to say all three for that one.
Okay. And then resilience.
Attitude.
All right, very good. So let's go through these. For knowledge, we have vision, impact. So we have 2 for knowledge. For skills, we have manage self-emotions and impact, 2. And then for attitude, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 for attitude. So as you can see from your own answers, the thing that separates an ordinary result from extraordinary results is mostly your attitude. I've done this exercise with numerous groups. I've done them with board of directors. I've done them with high school students. I've done them with business mixers and Chamber of Commerce events. And this is literally the exercise I use to get businesses to bring me in to work with their employees. Because if you think about the business that you work at or businesses that you know of, what do they spend most of their time and money training their people on? Skills and product knowledge. But as we've just identified, it's the attitude that's the thing that's going to take you and your company to the top.
Although, if I could just jump in.
Sure.
If you don't have the accompanying skills and knowledge, you can't use that attitude. You do need that some kind of a foundation of skills and knowledge in order for the attitude to shine on top of it. You don't have the skills and knowledge, it's not going to help.
Well, the skills and knowledge is basically going to be what every business in most industries are going to have. Your competitors are going to have some skills and knowledge, but the thing that takes you from being the ordinary to the extraordinary is normally the attitude. And I've worked with many business owners in trying to change culture. And I've always told them that you want to hire for attitude because you can teach the skills and knowledge. But if you have a person with a bad attitude, all the skills and the knowledge in the world is not going to help your company get to the next level. So knowing that your attitude is the little extra that's needed, let's focus on the U factor. When you get right down to it, all business is people business. If all things are equal, you want to do business with people that you like. And when things aren't equal, you still want to do business with people that you like. In business, family, and relationships, it all comes down to your relationships. In fact, I believe that the quality of your life is equal to the quality of your relationships. So we're going to take a quick poll here. I want you to think about the relationships in your life, whether it's a boss-employee relationship, a husband-spouse relationship, friends or co-workers, and think about what percent of responsibility is yours in each relationship that you have. And while you're thinking about your answer, I know that some people say, oh, it's not my responsibility, so it would be 0. And some people say, well, maybe it's a little bit my responsibility, so that would be like 25%. Some people think it's 50-50. Everybody should be halfway responsible, so it'll be 50-50. And then you're going to have some that say, well, maybe it's mostly my responsibility for 75. And then some of you may think it's 100% your responsibility. So in all of your relationships, what responsibility do you think is yours? All right, so we got 40% of the people think 75% is your responsibility, and 47 think it's 100%. And a few of you think it's 50-50, and a few think it's 25%. Well, I want to share with you that the reality is that until you take 100% responsibility for all of your relationships, until you're willing to put into the relationship without expecting anything in return or only giving to get, those relationships are doomed to fail. And when your relationships fail, your life will fail. So you may not realize this, and this is the part where I want to tell you what you want to hear and tell you what you need to know, and that is that where you're sitting at today, the chair that you're in, the situations that you're in, your health, your job, whether you like your job, the balance in your bank account, everything that you have in your life right now is based upon the choices that you've made and that the decisions you made, which makes you 100% responsible for where you're at right now. If there's anything in your life that you're not happy with, you caused it. And it's hard for people to accept that, but your results and your outcome are completely your responsibility. Now, having said that, and some of you may not be happy with where you're at, and especially if I'm telling you that it's your fault, I don't want to just leave you right there. So by show of hands, who wants to be responsible and have control for their life? Taking 100% responsibility for your life is the control factor. If you're blaming others for where you're at in your life, you'll never be able to get to where you want to go. And so what I want to do is show you how this control factor works. And we have to start with where you're at. If you think about it, you can't even tell anybody how to get to your house without knowing where they're at first. So before I can help you get to where you want to go, we have to start with where you're at. And where you're at right now is the result of 3 things. And those 3 things are the things that have happened to you. The things you've done, the things that you haven't done, and the things that have happened to you and how you responded to them. The way the control factor works is that to take 100% responsibility is what's called the control formula. And I'm going to show you how the control formula works. The control formula is E+R equals O, which is events plus response equals your outcomes. All of us have events in life. We're going to get passed over for a promotion. We may lose a job. We're going to have somebody lie to us. We may get cheated on. We're going to have a parent that passes away. All these are events that happen to us in life, and it's our responses to those events that equal our outcome. Let me give you an example of an event. Someone has a heart attack, and you decide not to do anything. Not doing anything is still a response because it's a choice that you're making. So if the person has a heart attack and you don't do anything, the outcome is not very good for the person that had the heart attack. That same event happens, but your response is that you're going to call 911 and do CPR until emergency crew show up. The outcome for that person is much better. Every event you have, there's going to be a response to it that creates the outcome. And these don't necessarily have to be bad events. A good event could be, hey, it's payday, and your response is to go out and spend every penny you got. Your outcome is going to be that you're probably going to be broke your entire life. But that same event, getting paid, and your response is that you're going to put 10% into savings and 10% to charity, your outcome is going to be that you're probably going to live a more fulfilling life. So knowing this control formula, it's important to use this control formula to reflect at the end of each day and to plan for the future. At the end of each day, you should go back and you should think about the events that you had and the outcomes that you had. And if you're not satisfied with the outcomes that you had, you should be thinking about the responses that you gave. If you realize that if you change that response a little bit or a lot, you might have gotten the outcome that you wanted. And by doing that reflection, you can learn from those past responses and know that in the future you're going to make a better response so that you'll get a better outcome. And the same holds true for planning. Think about the events that you have planned for tomorrow. Maybe you have a meeting that's set up for a sales presentation and your outcome is you want to make the sale. While you're going through that process, you want to think about the obstacles that may come up in your presentation that people are going to be opposed to. If you start thinking in advance about how you're going to respond to that, you may end up getting the outcome that you want. So it's always important to use the control formula. And when you start realizing that your responses to events is what's going to equal your outcomes, you'll really feel like you are in control. So with that said, if you think about it, the quality of our life is based on the quality of our relationships. And we know that our attitude is the key for extraordinary results. It becomes more and more obvious that the number one thing for you to work on to improve the quality of your life in all areas is to work on you. One of my early mentors told me that I could have success in all areas of my life if I spent more time working on myself than I did on my job. I learned that for things to get better, I had to get better. I knew that for things to change, I would have to change. And his perspectives on life changed my entire life. He even passed along some philosophies from his early mentors. And he used to say that things cost too much. And his mentor told him, no, you just can't afford them, which gives you a whole different way of looking at things. And his mentor, so he showed his mentor his paycheck and said, no, this is all the company pays. And his mentor said, no, that's all the company pays you. Because at companies, everybody makes different amount of money depending upon the value you make. So he taught me that in order to receive more, I had to become more. And he told me that I can't pursue success, that success is something you attract by becoming an attractive person. And he wasn't talking about looks. He was talking about becoming a person that other people want to do business with, that other people want to get to know you. And so here's the best way to attract success into every area of your life. And the example I'll use is with a mate. Let's say you want to have find your soulmate. The best thing you can do is make a list of all the qualities and characteristics of the person that you're looking for. And then you want to go back through that list and check off everything that you match up with, and then circle the things that you don't match up with. And then you want to go to work on you improving those areas. If you're looking for someone that's in good shape and you're fat, you need to work on your physical conditioning if you want to attract somebody that's in good shape. If you want somebody that dresses really sharp and you're a sloppy dresser, it's not going to happen unless you can start improving the way you dress. If you want a non-smoker but you smoke, it just won't happen. Whatever it is that you're looking for, you need to try to work yourself to match up with that. Like attracts like. Same thing happens when you look for work. If you're looking for an employee or you're looking for a boss, if you want, you should make that same list out. And if you want somebody that's straightforward and tells you like it is, then you need to be straightforward and tell it like it is. If you want somebody that's punctual, then you need to be punctual. part of improving our life is understanding that we don't live in a linear world. And that's part of the problem with our educational system, is that they teach us in a linear world. They teach us 1, 2, 3, 4, A, B, C, D. But in reality, we naturally function and think and operate in a non-linear fashion. We're visionary creatures. We have work friends that are also, workmates that are also friends. And we have people that we work with that go to the same church, and people that are in our social clubs that are also going to our gym. So it only comes to reason that with everything that's around you, if you work harder on yourself, it will improve all of your relationships in every area of your life. And this works both positively and negatively. For example, if you lose your job, eventually it will affect your finances, which will create stress, which could then affect your relationships and your health. So one area of your life affects all areas of your life. And like a high tide raises all ships, as you go to work on you and you get better, everything around you will get better. When you grow, everything around you will grow. So the key thing here to remember is that you are connected to everything. And that's why it's so important that you work harder on yourself than you do on your job. And as you can see by this diagram, your world does evolve around you, just like my world evolves around me. And the thing is that if the two of us were in the same room and we had the same people around us, they would be responding differently to you than they do to me, because our own past experiences is how we filter the world. Our experiences will make us view body language differently. The tone of somebody's voice will be different to me than it will be for you. And that's why personal development is so important. When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Just this past week, I was having a staff meeting, and I was talking to them about adding more services to the work that we do. And a couple of people in the back, you could hear them groan about having more work to do. And I told them that they were looking at it wrong, that it wasn't about more work, it was about creating more opportunities. And if we expanded services, that was going to create more jobs and create more supervisors and create increase in salaries. And instantly, the level of energy went up in the room, as opposed to thinking about it from a position of more work. So when you change the way you think about things, the things you think about will change. Another good example, if you get cut off in traffic, you may think the person that cut you off is a jerk. But that same situation happens and you think, oh, he must be in a rush to get his pregnant wife who's laying down in the backseat having a baby to the hospital. Now, instead of thinking he's a jerk, you're thinking, I hope he gets there safely. Nothing has changed except the way you think about it. Another good example is a husband comes home from work every day at 5 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 5 o'clock, just like clockwork. One night, 6 o'clock rolls around and he's not home, and the wife says, man, maybe he's just working on overtime. 7 o'clock rolls around and he still hasn't come in. She starts to worry and starts calling hospitals to see if he's in an accident. 8 o'clock rolls around, she still hasn't heard from him, and now she's beginning to think he's having an affair, and now she's starting to get angry. At 8:30, he walks in the door and says he had stopped by his mother-in-law's house to help her install the new refrigerator that his wife had asked him to do, and she forgot all about it. So through that whole ordeal, she went from being nervous to being worried to being angry, and nothing changed except the way she was thinking. As she changed her thoughts, her emotions changed, and that changes the way she responds. So we have to realize that by working on ourselves, that allows us to think differently, so we'll see things differently, and we'll feel differently, and then we'll act differently. So that takes us over to, how do you create the life that you desire? The life you desire comes from what you create. And what do we create? We create what we expect, not what we want. And that's something that everyone should write down. We get what we expect, not what we want. A perfect example of this is, you really want the job that you're going to for the interview for. But if you expect that someone else has more experience or has better education than you, your expectation is that you're not going to get the job, and it's very likely that you're right. We get what we expect, not what we want in life. And so what do we expect? We get our expectations create and manifest our expectations manifest into creation. And so where does that come from? It comes from whatever we think about. And what do we think about? We think about everything that goes through our mind. Everything that goes through our mind. That's why so many self-help books and personal development books focus on thinking. There's books like Think and Grow Rich, The Power of Positive Thinking, Think Big. If your thinking is stinking, your results are probably doing the same. And so what controls our thinking? And the reality is that most of our thinking is done at a subconscious level. I recently heard that we have 70,000 thoughts every single day, 70,000 thoughts a day. And that goes from, hey, the alarm's going off, I better shut it off. I need to get up, need a shower, need to brush my teeth, comb my hair, or at least some of us brush our teeth. And all of those things are thoughts that are done on a subconscious level. And 91% of those 70,000 thoughts are done every single day over and over without us even realizing that we're doing them. So it all comes down to that remaining 9% of our thoughts. And what do we think drives our thinking? It's the input that we give it. And so what influences your thinking? Everything influences our thinking. And if you think about your mind as this clear glass here, we start with a clean slate and we're influenced by everything. Studies show that even lyrics and background music has an influence on us. And our mind is like a computer. What we put into it is what we get out of it. And our mind is hardwired, just like a computer has a hard drive. We load software in, and when the software malfunctions, we blame it all on the computer. The same thing with our brains. When we don't get the weight loss that we want to blame it on the diet. When we're not getting the muscles that we want to blame it on the gym. But the reality is it's all in the way we see things and let our thoughts influence our thinking. Now, I want you to think for a minute about Coca-Cola. Imagine Coca-Cola being poured into this glass. You wake up in the morning and you turn on the news and you hear about a double homicide. A little Coke goes into the glass. And you hear about a tornado in the Midwest. Another sip goes in the glass. You hear about an earthquake here, a child abduction there. You hear about a corrupt politician getting arrested. You hear about a rapist getting set free. More and more Coke goes into the glass until it finally looks like this. Now you're ready to head out the door and take on the world. What you really need now is a good flushing. And so how do you flush your mind out after you've filled it full of all this negativity? You need to start reading good books. Just 10 pages a day will help you. You need to, as you read, clear water will go in and that'll help push the Coca-Cola out. When you put on a personal development CD in your car, driving to work, more good clear water goes in, more Coke comes out. Instead of reading the paper, pick up a good magazine or pick up a personal development book or spend some time journaling. The more positive things you do, the more the Coke goes out and the more clear water comes in. Instead of watching reality TV, turn on YouTube and watch some personal development segments. And the more you flush your mind with the good things and to flush out the Coke, it ends up looking like this. And you want your mind to be as clear as possible because that gives you better vision, makes better clarity, and gives you better perspective. So negative input starting the day makes it stay cloudy all day. And filling it full of news and stuff before you go to sleep at night prevents your mind from having opportunities to ferment on positive thoughts. So the only way to do this is to take time for your number one investment, and your number one investment is you. You need to invest in you. For every dollar that you invest in your personal development, you'll get a $30 return. And the problem that we have with investing in ourselves is that all of us have this tendency to spend freely on our wants, but when it comes time for our needs, we tend to tighten the belt. When you say, oh, it's going to be a $25 book, or a $60 CD set or a $150 seminar, people say, no, that's too much. I don't want to spend the money. Don't let that be you, because those are the same people that'll spend $100 going out, $200 on a pair of shoes, and $1,500 on season tickets. When you focus on your own personal development, you'll think better and you'll feel better. And don't just stop there. You also want to invest in other people. Share what you learn with other people. Recommend the books that you read. Me personally, whenever I go to a bookstore and I buy a book, I'll buy 3 or 4 of the same copies and give them out to friends and family. Because when you're sharing ideas and you're sharing books with other people, you're showing that you care about them and that you're investing in their future. You have to be the gatekeeper of your mind. Put good things in and good things will come out. There's no way to minimize the darkness and the doom and the gloom, especially in today's world, from seeping into your mind. But we can minimize it. I never watch the news. I recommend you quit watching the news. I don't listen to talk radio, and I don't read the newspaper. I'll pay attention to sports from time to time, but even now they're starting to get into politics, so I'm spending less time in sports as well. So always be sure that you have good flushing materials near you. You want to be able to have stuff on your nightstand, at work, in your car, on your desk, and even put stuff on your phone. You can never flush your mind enough. It's kind of like taking a bath. Once isn't enough. You need to do it every day. And as a leader, your job is to grow your people, whether it's with your family or your friends. Help growing other people will help them grow the businesses and the relationships that you're in. So with that, we'll move on to the 3 secrets to maximize your success. And I'm going to go through each one of these separately, but the 3 secrets to maximize your success. The first one is failure. We have a tendency to avoid failure. What we really need to do is embrace and enjoy failure. And the second one is consistency. Consistency is because success is not a one-time big event. It's stuff that comes from routine, mundane decisions done consistently over a long period of time. I was telling somebody just yesterday that the reason why more people aren't successful is because they get bored. Because success it's not a big flashy thing. It's something that comes from doing things consistently over a long period of time. And the third thing is for success is a formula. There's a formula for success. Success is very simple. It's not always easy, but it is simple. In any type of a formula, if you follow it, you'll be able to get the results. It may not be the best the first time, but you'll get it over time. So let's start talking about failure. Pretend you're a pendulum in life. If you're just staying still, not much happens, you don't experience anything, but then eventually we move to what we call our comfort zone. We have a little sadness in our life, we experience a little happiness, we get some pain, we have a little joy, suffer a few defeats, we get sprinkled in with a little victory, and at that point we decide, I'm okay right where I'm at, I really don't want to have any more pain or suffering, I'm good. So we kind of give up on our dreams and we settle for where we're at. As I said earlier, you can't pursue success, but you can push towards failure. And when you do, the pendulum will swing back and you'll experience more success. And in doing this process, you also expand your comfort zone. The more success you have, the more you become comfortable taking on risk. This here is a prime example of why the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. The rich know that when they fail, they'll learn from their mistakes and they'll push again and try for take more risks so they can get a higher return. There are no rewards in life without taking some risk. Michael Jordan says you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. The number one thing that professional athletes, Olympic gold medal winners have, the most successful business owners have over the rest of us is they've literally had more failures than us. I've talked to many sales teams, and the most successful sales representatives have been told no more than the less successful. The difference is they don't quit with the no's, they continue to pursue more sales, where the other people will quit and put down the phone because they've already been rejected too much. So you have to push towards a failure to get more success. 60% of self-made millionaires in the United States have gone bankrupt first. And 80% of those 60% have gone bankrupt twice. So failure is something you have to embrace to realize that success is just around the corner. On to the second secret to success is consistency. Over time, it wins every time. It's the lack of consistency that steals dreams. Stopping and starting kills all progress of any pursuit. The key to success at anything is to start and build momentum. If you think about a locomotive engine, if it's sitting still, you could put a 6-inch block of steel in front of the wheels and that train cannot move. But if you let that train go down the track and get up to 60 miles an hour, it can go through a 6-foot block of concrete. And I don't know if any of you have ever had to push a car down the street before, but pushing a car takes a lot of effort to push it to get it started. But once it starts to roll, you can walk along the side of it and just give it a little nudge and it'll continue to roll. So, and if you think about Apollo flights, 60% of all the fuel on Apollo flights is used during the takeoff. The most energy in any project is the energy that's used to get started and to become consistent. And once you become consistent at anything, then it's all about maintenance. If you think about a beautiful garden, anytime you see a beautiful garden, you know that a person has put a lot of time and effort into it. You have to start with the soil, you pull out all the weeds, you have to rototill it, you have to put in the fertilizer, you plant the seeds, you have to water the garden, and then it becomes a beautiful garden. Once you have that garden set up, all you have to do is go out every 2 or 3 days and just pick the 1 or 2 little weeds that are starting to grow and it'll remain beautiful. But if you leave that garden alone for 2 or 3 or 4 weeks, eventually the weeds will take over and you got to start all over again. Consistency and maintenance is in every aspect of life. If you talk about exercise, they tell you 30 to 60 minutes a day. It's not about 8 hours 1 day a week. And if you've ever heard them talk about an apple a day keeps the doctor away, it's not 7 apples on Sunday. And the final secret is the formula for success. Success leaves clues. There's a recipe for success. It's kind of like baking a cake. Even if you don't know how to cook, if you follow a recipe, you can bake a cake. And your first cake may not be your best cake, but if you continue to bake cakes, you'll get better at it and your cakes will improve. So you have to learn the formula for success in whatever it is that you're trying to master. For example, if you want to be a top sales representative, follow the formula that the top sales representative is using. If he's making phone calls early in the morning, you need to be making phone calls early in the morning. If he's setting up appointments to visit clients late in the evenings, that's what you need to be doing. If he's taking somebody to lunch every day, you should be taking somebody to lunch every day. Success leaves the clues. It's the same thing if you want to run a marathon. Follow a marathon runner. If they're eating yogurt for breakfast, you should be eating yogurt for breakfast. If they're running 10 miles every day, you should be running 10 miles every day. Follow what successful people do and you'll start getting the results that the successful people get. And then finally, once you figure out the skills, then you just need to continuously practice them. Practice is what we all have, but ability takes lots of practice. I mean, we all have talent, but ability takes lots of practice. And finally, it's mastery. They say that it takes 10,000 hours in anything to become a master at it. It can be done in less time, but that's only if you're coachable and you're willing to follow more successful people. Ralph Waldo Emerson once said, "Do the thing and you will have the power. The power comes from doing the thing." So in recapping the goals today, to go from ordinary to extraordinary results, you have to focus on your attitude and you have to take 100% responsibility for everything that's going on in your life. And the number one thing for improvement in all areas is to work on you. And the process to create the life that you desire, you have to start with your thinking and your expectations, because your expectations manifest into your creations. And of course, your best investments you can make is in yourself. For every dollar you invest in you, it's going to give you a $30 return. And if you think about it, if you won't invest in you, why would anybody else? And finally, the 3 secrets to maximize your success is to embrace failure, consistency in what you're doing, and follow the formula for success. Now, before we go to question and answers, I want to give you a little added thing. I want to talk to you about the journey. Success is not a destination, it's a journey. And with goals, reaching your goals are not as important as the person you become in the process. If you want to become a millionaire and you're robbing banks and stealing from people to get to the million, the person you become is not going to be worth it. But if you decide you want to be a millionaire and you're trying to help further people's education and help them become successful in business, and you don't quite reach the million, but you've helped people develop and grow along the way, the person you become is more important than the goal itself. So if you're out there looking for work, instead of focusing on how much are you going to make, focus on what is that job going to make of you. And realize that we're always being pulled in different directions. And your past and your future are like magnets. When you run into an obstacle, which you will run into obstacles, we all do, you want the pull of the future to pull you through those obstacles to help you get to your goals. If your past is bigger than your future, whenever you hit that obstacle, it's going to pull you back into your old habits and your old thinking and your old way of doing things. So I know that I've shared a lot of information with you, and in a short period of time. I know that earlier when I was talking with the group preparing for this, they asked me what I thought would be the 3 biggest takeaways from this event. And I want to say that I think the most important thing, if you only take one thing away from what I've shared with you tonight, is that when you change the way you think about things, the things you think about change. And the second takeaway would be that when you take 100% responsibility for your outcomes, you will be in control for your life. And the last thing is that when you change, everything will change for you. And that concludes my presentation. I appreciate your attention, and I'll be happy to answer your questions. I do want to make sure that you have my contact information here. My phone number is 925-699-8151. You can follow me on Twitter at Bryan Balch. My email address is bb@BryanBalch. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. I'd be happy to do that. And I do a weekly newsletter called Monday Morning Thoughts that I started back in May of 2010 to be consistent. I've done it for over 10 years now without missing a Monday, knock on wood. And I'd love to stay in touch with you. And with that, I'm done, and I'll be happy to take any questions anybody might have.
Thank you so much, Bryan. Wow, that was like wisdom. And so for this Q&A session, I know that Mo is monitoring our chat. Is there any question in the chat that we can fill in to Bryan? Because if not, what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove Bryan on Spotlight, and we can just have a group discussion. People who have questions can directly ask questions to Bryan. What do you think, Mo?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. We do not have any questions in the chat. Got a couple of comments in the chat and some things for everybody to notice. Please note the comment here to please respond to our assessment survey, and there's a link to that. And then there's also information on how to become a mentor and how to become a mentee.
All right. So if you'd all like to set your view to gallery mode so that we can see who's speaking, let's go do that. And anybody would like to throw in the first question?
Yeah, I have a question. Daniel here. So I know, Bryan, you mentioned in the beginning of your discussion that expectation leads to creation. And my question is that sometimes, at least in my personal life, expectation sometimes leads not into kind of a successful kind of path. Sometimes when I set expectations way too high, or I put it on a pedestal, it becomes not necessarily something attainable, but something that I just needed to have, or I expected to have. So the journey part isn't necessarily there for me. So my question is, how do you kind of re-engineer the word of expectation? And is there something that I can do that doesn't necessarily have to do with an expectation, but more of having no expectation at all, but just kind of trusting the process. Sorry if that's a little confusing. I'm kind of thinking of the question as I'm talking.
Yeah, well, if I understand it correctly, and you can tell me if the answer is on target or way off base, but I believe it's not so much that the expectation can't be achieved, it's that the expectation, your timeline is probably too short. And so the fact that you may have an expectation that you want right now, the fact that you don't get it right now doesn't mean that you can't be doing things that will progress you to move closer to that expectation. And to believe that you're still going to get it is fine, but the problem may just be in the fact that you expect it right now. A lot of our problems in life today is that we have this instant gratification. Everything is microwavable. We want it now. But for true happiness, we have to get past that and focus on progress. If we're making strides in getting towards that expectation, that's where true happiness comes. A person doesn't have to really reach the expectation to be happy. They just have to be making progress. The example I like to give, if you're trying to lose 50 pounds, a person won't be happy. They can't hold off their happiness until they lose all 50 pounds, because most people will quit before that. But if they lose 2 pounds and they say, man, I'm making progress, now they're feeling good about, hey, what I'm doing is working. If I keep going, and every time you get that little bitty goal that shows that you're moving closer to that expectation, that's what keeps you happy and that's what keeps you motivated. Oftentimes when a person plateaus and they're losing that weight and they get to the 25-pound mark and they can't get to the 26-pound mark, that's when they quit, because they're no longer making progress. So on all of your expectations, it comes down to making progress towards them to keep you on track.
Awesome.
Was I on track? Was that good?
Yes,
Okay.
that was good. That was
Okay.
great.
Yeah, thank you.
Bryan, that last example, losing weight, it was great because there was like a scale that you could progress towards it. Now, there are other goals that are more binary, as in you're there or you're not there. There are no, stages, and so on. And I'm reminded of that one slide you had of the scroll, and your top line was, decide upon your goal. So I'm wondering, are you hinting that the goal should be one of these goals which has progressive stages as opposed to a binary? Is that your hint, that when you define a goal, it has to be kind of a goal that has a whole bunch of intermediate goalposts instead of just beginning and end?
I'm not sure. I mean, because I'm not sure. I can't think of a goal right off the hand where it's just either instantaneously or it's not. I mean, unless maybe you're thinking of quitting smoking, which would just be you quit or you don't quit type of a thing. But even in that, sometimes you're cutting back, so it's a gradual thing. I'll tell you, for example, John Maxwell, a business leader, well-renowned as one of the greatest business leaders in the world today, says that he no longer has goals. He focuses on growth. He wants to know if he's growing towards becoming a better writer. He wants to know if he's growing towards becoming a better speaker. And so he's always just doing things to constantly grow. So he's not having set things, because people then think, oh, I missed it or I hit it or I didn't. And it's all more about the development of the person and who you're becoming in the process. When I give a goal, I do a goal set getting workshop where I help people get their goals. And I always tell them that when they set what they want in their goals, the one question I always ask them is, okay, what kind of a person do you have to become to achieve this goal? Are you going to have to be more focused? Are you going to have to be more diligent? Are you going to have to be more consistent? Are you going to have to be kinder? Are you going to have to learn new skills? So it's all about who you're going to become in the process, which is the most important part as to whether or not you actually achieve the goal. Did that answer your question, John?
Close enough. I kind of like that word growth. And when you revisit that slide with the scroll, maybe you ought to change the word, instead of decide upon goal, decide upon growth path.
Right. I think that's good. That's good. I appreciate that. Thank you.
And I saw a comment on the chat also that mentors can help
Yes, absolutely.
So,
Mentors can help.
so you can have mentors for different areas of your life. I think it was Mo who actually who typed that in the chat. But yeah, that's why we're all
It was
here
me.
because
Yeah,
oh,
Mary
was
did.
that Mary?
It was Mari.
Yeah. So that's why we're all here, right? So we all believe that we need help from each other. And as a community, we want to be able to rely on each other for support and also for the push.
Absolutely. And I know people that have 10 and 12 coaches. They'll have a music coach, they'll have a fitness coach, they'll have a nutritionist, they'll have a speech coach. I mean, they have all kinds of coaches. So it's amazing that the biggest professionals, the ones that make the most money, have coaches and mentors, and it's the people that need them the most that don't. So everybody could use coaching, and we all need to have people that feed our minds with positive thoughts, and we have to be the gatekeepers of our mind. We do have family members that are going to be negative, and we can't pick our family, but we can minimize the amount of time that we spend with them. Or if we know we're going to go spend 2 hours listening to negativity, that we have to go somewhere right afterwards and flush our brain with something that's positive. I have a sister that sometimes can say negative things over and over, and I'll have to stop her and I'll say, hey, wait. If there was one thing positive you could say, what would that be before I have to jump out of this car while it's driving? And so you just have to change, and she'll say, oh, I guess I was really starting to go off the deep end. Yeah, let's shift back over here to positivity. And so sometimes you have to stop the people that are trying to rain on your parade.
One final thought.
Are you okay, Cloud?
The root
go ahead, Chuck.
cause. The root cause. Until you learn to talk, if you're a child of a sane parent, you're nurtured.
Yes.
As soon as you learn to talk, I think children learn the word no much sooner than they learn mama. We beat them down. That's why in my mentoring I say, we put wings back on broken dreams.
There you go. Great.
Sport.
That's a great analogy.
And having an array of capable people that you can point to at the right time. Final thought. Almost every professional will give someone who's troubled an hour to see if we can do something for them. So they shouldn't be afraid of a big upfront fee from most honorable professionals. The greedy ones, leave them for someone else.
Yes. I always give a free consultation. And even after I do a consultation and we decide that together that we're going to work, then I try to do a 4-session minimum. And then I tell them after 4 sessions, together we'll decide if we're going to continue. And they'll say, what do you mean decide if we're going to continue? If I continue to pay you, aren't we going to go? And I'll say, no, if you're not taking the advice I give you, it's a waste of my time and a waste of your money. So after 4 sessions, we'll decide together if we're going to continue down this road. But thank you, Chuck.
You're very welcome. And bless you for everything that you shared and so many of the other good people who threw their precious ideas in.
Yes, absolutely. Anybody else? We can have maybe 1 or 2 more questions for Bryan.
This is Mari. I just want to make a comment that I really enjoy Bryan's presentation.
Well, thank you, Mary.
This is very powerful information, and I really, my invitation to you as I hear this is, what is one thing, one idea that he shared today that you would be willing to take an action on and put it into practice in the next 5 days? And that's where I will be challenging every one of you. Did you take any notes? Did you get a word, a phrase, a sentence, a quote that he said that really got you, and you're willing to take an action on that? Then this will be a good investment of your time, because it was truly powerful. Klaus said, common sense yet difficult to implement, because sometimes the simplest things are the most difficult. So that will be my challenge to you, and also the invitation. And that goes on me too, because I already decided what I'm going to do with this information. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. And I do want to remind everybody that if you want copies of the slides, you can either get them from me or from Liesel. And if you have any other questions that you're interested in having answered personally, you can always email me and I'll get back to you and help you any way I can. And it's been a pleasure. I appreciate it, the opportunity.
Yeah, so Bryan, we will distribute the slides. We do send a follow-up email after the session. So if you don't get it by tomorrow, you'll definitely have it by Monday. And I think we do it the Friday after the meeting.
Good.
So anybody else? So to Mary's point, we're going to have the networking after in about 12 minutes, right? So, and we have a guide question as well based on Bryan's material as to what can be discussed or what we would like for you to consider to discuss in your breakout rooms. And it's very, very much aligned with what Mary mentioned. Anybody else would like to say anything? Otherwise, I would go into the announcements. And maybe we can wrap up early, or you can have more time for the networking. Anybody? Okay, so let me go ahead and share my screen again. Okay, so for our announcements, we just want to invite you to some of the other events that are happening in the mentoring club. So Sanjeev actually has another call, so he signed off. I saw his chat, but he will be our next presenter for September. So he's a user experience designer, and he is, I think, one of the founders of a company called NLP Bots. It's a company out of India, and they're establishing their operations here in the US. So that will be September 24. So I do hope to see all of you again, and maybe bring some of your friends whom you think might be interested in this particular topic. And so this is one of our big announcements for today, because September 9 is coming up. So we have set up a fundraiser where it's a virtual run, walk, and bike ride. And we've set it up for 32 days. And we just, why? We just like the numbers, right? 09/09/2020 and 10/10/2020. So when Donna, Louie, and I were thinking about, okay, so what would be the period? So we had to just pick those nice numbers. So it's going to run for 32 days. It's going to start like not next Wednesday, but the following Wednesday. And for that, we're actually coming up with a kickoff plan, which I'll share with you in a little bit. But some more background about this is we would really like to rally your support behind this, because so this is, you know, we've already become a community here. So I will share with you the story about the fundraiser where we were actually targeting to raise about $50,000 for this, and we reached out to over 50 companies between the fundraisers, some of my friends, myself, and to Bryan's point, right? So failure and consistency, and you know, what do you do next, right? So we actually have gotten rejections, you know, just to be blunt with it. It's because of what's happening all around us. Companies are merging, companies are laying off, you know, budgets are being put on hold, and they're prioritizing needs around people who need food, shelter, you know, healthcare. And also Black Lives Matter is also one of the responses that we have gotten from those companies. And we approached big companies as well as medium-sized companies. So having said that, so it doesn't seem like we are going to get to our 50,000 target, and what are we going to use that fund for? So we really want to be able to grow the organization, and we'd like to be able to have people support us. So that will be used for hiring our first employee in addition to me, and I'm not getting paid. So what do we do now, right? So we encountered that kind of failure. I charge it to experience, because now we would know what we can do more of and better next time. And so what we want to do is really reach out to individuals, friends, families, connections, in order to allow them to be aware of what we're trying to do. We're trying to raise more funds so that we can serve more people who are needing mentorship. And nowadays, with people who have been laid off, we're also developing programs to reach out to them so that they can find the right mentors, and we have to recruit more mentors as well. So, and that takes a lot of work, and there's the infrastructure behind the platform. So if you could help us, please do so. So, and my next slide here is actually, 5 ways, concrete ways to be able to help us and participate in the fundraiser. So the first one is, if you like to walk, run, or bike, then please register as a participant. The second way that you could help us is you could donate to the fundraiser in the actual platform that we're using, and you'll have a copy of this slide, so you will have a copy of the link. And if you're in our regular mailer, you may have received many emails from me about this as well. So the third one is you could also create a fundraiser in the platform so that you can entice your friends to support your fundraiser. They can donate to that fundraiser. So if you're in that area where you can donate, but you don't want to run or do any of the activities, you could choose any of the fundraisers here to support. So right now, the 3 organizers are there. So Louis, myself, I said I will walk for you if you donate to the fundraiser. And then Donna is our program lead for this fundraiser. And then, as I said, invite family and friends. And also, if you could promote on social media so we could generate more interest, that would be very, very much appreciated. So I'd be grateful for your support. And then the other piece is, so September 9 is what we're trying to organize a kickoff. So Daniel and Breen are going to help me, or going to help us, the fundraising team, test how we can do live stream. And we were thinking of doing this at Land's End Trail at the Labyrinth on the 9th at around 7 a.m. So we're thinking maybe no more than 10 people with social distancing and with the headwear. And if people would like to participate in other areas, whether in the US or outside of the US, then we would actually rotate the broadcast through Facebook live stream or some other tool that Daniel is currently helping us determine. So that's for the fundraiser. So I hope you can join us one way or another and help us with this project. And then the next one, Deepali, are you there? You can unmute yourself. So the next one.
Hi, I'm here.
Yes. So the next one that we have is investment in our health. So we kept talking about like diet, right? So I think so. Part of my discipline when I think of leaders is that we invest in a positive and strong, focused mind as well as a healthy body. Because if we don't have a healthy body, then we can't do much. We feel slow. We feel like there's no energy. And that's also why the fundraiser is also around health. So Deepali joined us like maybe 2 months ago as a mentor, and she is a yogi. So tell us about the yoga class that's slated for Monday, Deepali.
Yeah, thank you, Liesel, for the opportunity, and thank you, Bryan, for your wonderful words of wisdom. So I want to share a little about yoga and the session that Liesel and I have been talking and planned for all of you, our wonderful community here. I am a member, I am a mentor of the Mentoring Club for the last 2 months, as Liesel said, and I am an IT professional. I have more than 20 years of work experience in the higher ed as well as the HCM domains. And my biggest passion is practicing yoga. And I found that as a professional, following the practices, the principles, the features, the truths of yoga has helped me live a better life, take care of myself, not just physically, but emotionally as well as mentally. So I always believe, and I want my community to imagine that when you're on a plane and you experience turbulence, the oxygen masks drop from the cabins, and the first thing you do is put the mask on yourself before you put it on for a child and assist others. So I believe that when you practice yoga, you're taking care of yourself so that you can take care of others better. So whether it is in your profession or your family or your extended community, yoga will help you be a better person. So we planned this session for Labor Day on September 7th at 7 p.m. We will go through a 45-minute gentle yoga flow. It's going to be very rejuvenating, very relaxing, and at the same time, pushing your boundaries a little. So do join us, and we look forward to seeing you there.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Deepali, for that. And so the next segment that we have is our virtual networking. So, and this is the topic that, so Bryan gave me a few. And so this was what I was thinking that could be a guide question, right? So when you go and get to know each other in your breakout rooms, it would be great to have a particular topic. And so this is my suggestion. How can you improve as the gatekeeper of your mind? So this is, so Bryan, if you want to elaborate on this before everybody goes into the breakout room.
Sure. I mean, this is where you have to have awareness of where you're getting your information from, and is it negative information? Is it positive information? And is that negative information helping you? And as a gatekeeper of your mind, you get to determine, hey, this information isn't helping me anymore. I'll give you a good example. With the COVID-19, leading an organization where we actually still are doing in-service work with individuals in person, they came out with different times that now you have to wear masks and now social distancing. And so as they were changing up how we did our work and how many people could be in a room at one time, I was paying attention to it on a daily basis, and I realized that it was starting to affect me emotionally. I was starting to get short with people, and as I was losing more and more of my freedoms, and I realized that I really didn't need to listen to the news on a daily basis. If it got bad enough, somebody would tell me. And so I just quit listening to all the updates, and I don't pay attention to how many people, what the count is on how many people are getting it. All I care about is focusing on what I'm doing. And now my mental health is so much stronger, and what's going on outside, I don't have any control over. And so I'm being the gatekeeper of my mind by picking out what I get to put in and what I get to keep out.
All right. So with that, I have actually organized 3 breakout rooms. We're currently at 19, well, 18 because I have to stay in the main room. So that will be 6 of you per room. And it's set at 18 minutes. And we're going to come back to the main room in 19 minutes. So there will be a 60-second notification. All right, enjoy. All right, is everybody here?
We're here.
Oh, okay, all right, so let me close the room. And so you can still see my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I think what we could do for this is we could do a gallery view again, because pretty much we have what, like 17 minutes to close. And then let me stop sharing. How would you like to do this, Bryan? Free flowing feedback from each group. Did you appoint any representative? Otherwise, let's do it free flowing. How was that exercise for you?
For me, I thought it was good. It was interesting to hear from the participants in the group, and Bryan even volunteered that he'd never heard of being the gatekeeper of his mind before, so it was a new experience for him, but it was good.
So that was what stand out for you in that particular group, that, you know, one, did you say Bryan? Bryan did not realize that he's the gatekeeper of his mind. I think it's just terminology.
Yeah, no, he just hadn't thought of it that way before, but I was impressed that all the participants had ideas on how they were going to, and it was refreshing and good to hear that it brought awareness to everybody in the group.
All right, so anybody else from the other two groups?
I can comment that in group 2, breakout group 2, I guess a summary of 18 minutes is to say a gatekeeper doesn't necessarily mean you stop information from coming in. Instead, it means that you don't take it at face value, and you track things down. If you're emotionally affected by something, learn up, read more about it. That's one of the themes coming out of our chat.
Good.
Mm-hmm. So challenge what you know.
Well, I'd say it's challenge what you've heard, because what you've heard might or might not be the whole story.
Mm-hmm. So facts, data. Okay. Anyone else? What about from any of our young participants, mentees? Soon to be mentors. So actually, I will put you on the spot, Daniel. So Daniel is joining us from Taiwan. So Daniel Kim, right? So he is, he was my former colleague in J-Way, and he's now has his own business. He's actually helping us with the SEO for the website and the new website that to be launched. So what do you think, Daniel? This is the first time that you joined the community.
Yeah, well, the session itself was refreshing. I especially liked Bryan's visual of the pendulum going between the failure, because it's very easy to get caught up in the comfort zone, and just reminding yourself, like, you know, you can go to the failure as long as you move the pendulum back to the success side of things. And in terms of the breakout room topic, it's like being a gatekeeper of my own mind is something I've been thinking about a lot because of the environment. There's just so much bad news happening all the time. So I've been like actively like literally putting my phone away so that I don't actually check the news, and limit myself to just important pieces of information that I can actually do something about.
Good job.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I can relate to the various topics and people's opinion.
Yeah, and that's actually how we can focus on our goals, right? So there's a lot of distractions around us.
Absolutely.
Okay, anybody else who hasn't spoken? Nimrit? I'm putting people on the spot. I hope you don't. Yeah, I hope you still attend next time.
Yeah. No, our group discussion was really good too, and we even got a chance to kind of network on some other topics, and everybody gave me really good feedback on what I'm trying to do for the business. So it was even better to kind of also learn about your mind, but then also to get even more information. That sometimes you don't think, like, because when I went in there, I didn't think that I would talk about that. But then by the end, I actually got more information about that as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And also, I've been Liesel's mentee for anyone who is kind of wondering whether they should join or not. And she's been very helpful for me, and we check in with everything that I want to progress on or anything I want to be better. So if there's anyone on this call who wants to be mentee, I highly recommend it. And for anyone who wants to be a mentor, a lot of young people do need this help, and Liesel's been very kind to establish this. So I do hope a lot of other mentees and mentors join her mission.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Nimrit. We're actually learning from you as much as you're learning from us.
Absolutely.
And actually one of the things that we talked about, mentee, I wouldn't say who, but one of the things that I got feedback on is that how people are actually wary about being in the wrong job. And so how do you get out of it? So I took that input seriously, and I actually spoke to Mary yesterday. Can you do a session on that? So that's going to be our session in October.
Good.
So if you're in the wrong job, do you quit or not quit, right? So
it's a big dilemma nowadays, just by the state of the work environment and job market.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm not saying who it's coming from because there's the confidentiality between mentors and mentees, but it's really good input to us. We do learn so much more from you. Then you probably learn from us, because we probably know already what we're telling you. We just have to tell you. All right, so I think we okay. So I'm 1 minute off, but I still want to give Mo. Oh, Louis.
One last chance.
Okay.
If you have not participated with our event, virtual walk, run, and bike, please, your 5 ways you can participate, and please help us to tell other people. We really need to let people know and join and help us to grow the mentoring club. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Louis. And Mo, final words, your takeaways.
Actually, there are quite a few takeaways. I think we've pretty much just covered them really well, so I don't think we should take the time to run through those. There were the takeaways that Bryan offered, and they are now lost. Yeah, I don't have those at my fingertips anymore, sorry.
Okay, no problem. But I think we all got a lot of wisdom out of Bryan's talk tonight. So thank you very much for that, Bryan. So now I won't be surprised if more mentees are looking for you in the platform. Okay. Well, thank you so much, everybody. So as we always say it, enjoy the journey, which is exactly what Bryan told us today.
Thank you.
One of the things he told us. Okay.
Good night,
Bye.
everyone.
Good night.
Bye.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
All right. Bye-bye.
Hey.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Bryan.